Welcome back, everyone. I'm Tom Murphy, and this is Trinidad Now. With me today is current council member Rusty Goodall, who is now running for mayor.
Yes, sir.
Rusty, thank you for joining me.
Tom, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you.
We did this 4 years ago.
We did, and I enjoyed it very much, and have been looking forward to do it again.
Well, a lot of people know you,
Yes.
but there's actually a lot of new people in town, and we covered this ground 4 years ago. So, on behalf of the newer people in town, let's know a little bit about your background.
So I come to Trinidad 30 years ago for work, and I wasn't here 3 months, and contacted the company I was working for and said I'm not leaving. And so I've been here ever since. Raised two kids here. Got involved with the fire department doing Santa Claus, which pretty much kicked off my community service around here. I did some time with A-Beta Colorado, which is a motorcycle rights organization. We had a local chapter here fighting for motorcycle rights, doing benefits for kids with cancer to provide money with families, money to families so they could go with their kids and be with them during their treatments. I did a little stint with the Chamber of Commerce for a little bit. I've been involved with the Trinidadio Blues Fest up till 2 years ago. I did about 12, 14 years with Trinidadio. About a 4-year stint with the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission, and then now 4 years on City Council. So I'm nearing the end of my public service part of my life, and I thought I had 2 more years in me, and thought I would like to sit in the mayor's position and wrap this up. A few things I'd like to really finish.
Okay, well, that's quite a resume.
Man, I'm telling you, I look back at it and think, what an honor and privilege it's been to serve this community I love so much, and to be part of the ups and the downs and getting through all of that. So it's been really good times, Tom.
Okay. In the 4 years that you've served on city council, before that though, let me just say, of course I filmed you when you were in planning and zoning.
Yep.
How did that prepare you for being on city council?
Well, man, it teaches you the whole procedures, parliamentary procedures, the Robert's Rule of Orders, how meetings run, what your role is, what the do's and don'ts are. Of course, I'm one that I attended so many different conferences and schooling to make sure I had a good idea, but it gave me a leg up knowing exactly what was expected of me and what I could and couldn't do.
Right.
Doesn't mean I would always follow those rules. You know, I've been known to buck them a little, but
Sure.
it showed me what the rules were.
Okay. Now that you've served 4 years in council, a lot's happened in the last 4 years.
Man, that's an understatement. So, you know, probably, of course, our biggest accomplishment, and I come in right as they were starting out negotiations with Evelyn on the Crazy French Ranch, and so we were able to get that wrapped up, and with Governor Hickenlooper at the time, and then Governor Polis come in and decided, hey, let's make it the 42nd state park, second largest.
Right.
Was simply amazing. We've seen, let's see what else has happened. We've seen, first of its kind, we created an outdoor recreation position. Nowhere else in this state do they have such a thing. We created that position, first of its kind.
Right.
And Mr. Chatterley, stealing him from Raton, I almost felt bad, but I sure didn't, because man, does he do a great job. The trail building class at the college, you know, is a direct result of us building trails here, and the state park coming in was new. We've invested so much money into the future of this community through the marijuana. The infrastructure, which is probably 20 years past its life and 70 to 100 years old in places, we've started getting all of that taken care of, wrapped up. ADA issues that we were so far behind on, that the Department of Justice is just really happy with the job we're doing and how fast we're moving. I know it's not as fast as some people want, but, you know, there's so many other things besides just one thing for you to concentrate on. You know, we've got the mine has come in. We've worked with Mr. Gray, Mark Gray, is the CEO of that company. So it's been a real pleasure working with him and getting the mine open back up, looking at rails going back in, good paying jobs for the people here. I think that was a great accomplishment for us to get that wrapped up, working with Mr. Chimino on the La Porta project, getting Americana Road through there, the new sewer in there for a new development down there, another new hotel. We got a Toyota dealership in here since I've been on, and working with Mr. Chimino and his group also on that. I mean, that's just a few of the things, but those are pretty big things, Tom.
Oh, they're huge. They're huge, and thank you, Toyota, for all they've done for us and my family. So,
man, I'm telling you, not just your family, Tom, but for this community. Jay is definitely building his legacy for sure here. His love for his hometown is unquestionable.
yeah, it's a little known fact that the building we're sitting in, his father owned back in from 1945 to 1954.
Wow. See, I didn't know that. You
Yeah.
learn something every day, Tom.
Yeah, he was in the car business, my understanding, and then with the war and whatnot, they weren't selling a lot of cars, so he went in the funeral business. So, and I have a great deal of gratitude for Mr. Shermino.
Yes.
So, let's bounce back to the Peak. It's the first thing that I saw coming in a Greyhound bus in 1982 into Trinidad, and I've seen some boom and bust through the decades that I've been here, just a little bit longer than you have. But what do you see as one of the biggest benefits of having that as a park?
So I think that the tourism is going to be just amazing. They're saying 50 to 100,000. I think those are low end numbers of visitors.
50 to per year?
Per year, 50 to 100,000 visitors per year for that park. And I think once we're able to, in the big plan, we look at building a triangle that'll go from Trinidad Lake State Park to Fisher's Peak State Park to Trinidad, and then from Trinidad to Trinidad Lake. Right. So we've got a good start on that with the Boulevard Edition. And the
Boulevard Edition is down by the river.
Down by the river. So getting that in, we're getting real close to getting that connected to Trinidad Lake State Park. That'll be the first leg of that. So I think that's probably the main deal is the tourism. And with all the tourists coming in, of course, brings in the industry to support that.
Right.
So new businesses, new and bigger stores. We've seen Mr. Lopez with Outfitters. Oh, Jesus.
I was just there the other day, yeah. I'm sorry.
But, another new business directly to handle the tourism in the outdoor recreation industry. Eventually, in the big plans, I am on some of the planning committees for that Fish Peak State Park. We will tie into Sugar Reap Park at some point. The mountain bikers.
Let's explain to people that are watching what that involves.
All right, so right now we're in the early stages, so we're just opening the north end of Fisher's Peak State Park.
Okay.
We've got 26 acres somewhere in that neighborhood that's open right now. The main goal is to get the trail from the trailhead that exists now up to the top of the peak. Probably in the spring. They were pushing for fall. I don't think it's going to happen. Hopefully in the spring to early summer we'll see an actual trail that you'll be able to take up. It's going to be roughly 8 miles, 3,000 feet in elevation change. But the whole south end of the park, once they finish the studies, the wildlife, everything else, we'll be able to take the roads that exist and run it through. It borders the James John Recreation Area, which is 15 to 20,000 acres, if memory serves me right. We'll go
and past, that's on the New Mexico side.
No, that's on the Colorado side.
Oh, okay.
So then we have the Lake Dorothy, which is a state wildlife area, which is another, I think, 10 to 15,000 acres above the whole park. So, and by the time that connects into Raton on the New Mexico side into Sugar Reach State Park for New Mexico, I mean, you're talking well over, it seems like 50,000 acres of outdoor recreation use that will be available. And so it's going to be huge, especially we just had the Rad Fest here this last weekend, close to 700 bikes. It's going to be a yearly event to hear them talk. That number is going to double pretty easy to 1,400 and could go even higher. People on bikes just coming here. Can you imagine once we get this trail open to Raton, we can have a race starting here that ends in Raton or
Right.
vice versa. It's going to benefit not only this community, but the New Mexico Raton, which is suffering just as much as we did forever. It's going to be huge. I believe that they'll put in a welcome center and a education center, probably somewhere in the area of where the house was. So the college will be using that for education for their school. There'll be some sort of camping available up there. Man, would I love to see an amphitheater built up there for an outdoor venue for music, stuff like that.
So we could have the Blues Fest there.
Blues Fest or any other kind of, I mean, you know, when the train was running from La Vita to Alamosa, they stopped up on top at that.
From La Vita to, oh, okay.
Yeah, the old steam train run there for years.
Okay.
Right in between, in the middle, up in the top of the mountains up there, they had a totally green venue, all run off solar and everything else. Michael Martin Murphy, a bunch of people.
Oh, I was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you ride the train up, you get off, and you see concerts and ride the train back. I would love to see some sort of venue like where people could drive up into our mountain setting at Fish Peak State Park and see some sort of concert venue, or who knows what all you could put up there. But
Well, let's get into a little bit more detail on this. What actually was the role of the city in acquiring the Crazy French?
so financially, we didn't put up a lot of money, but we were one of the 5 partners that they talked to the county commissioners, of course, for support, the city of Trinidad for support, the GOCO, Colorado Lottery funds, Department of Wildlife, Nature Conservancy, and the Land for Public Trust are the main partners in this. So our part was just being a host and kind of get public input. Would they like to see a state park? What would you like to see? That's the side of it that the Trinidad played a large part in.
Cool.
So luckily we weren't that dependent on financially to get it going, but
Right.
we were definitely, they wanted a lot of input from the city of Trinidad, Benz. It would directly affect us in Los Animas County the most.
So would it be fair to say if the city of Trinidad hadn't taken an interest, it might not have happened?
Even the county commissioners both played a role. I think if when they came to the city and the county, if we were like no, I think it would have had an impact on the end result for sure.
Okay. Well, I want to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue on.
All right.
So let me
Freedom isn't
move
free.
this in here
This time of year, give
so we can
thanks
breathe for a
and help
second.
our
Right.
What direction do you want to go
For
next?
protecting
Makes
our
no
freedom.
difference. You just
Thank
take
you
it where
for
you
your
want.
I'm
sacrifices.
like,
al apoyo que dan
this is
a nuestro
so
comandante.
impromptu.
And that's what brings on some of the
Our
best
veterans,
interviews when you're
America's
not
heroes.
prepared
They
to
fought
talk
for our
about
country.
one specific
Now
thing.
many
You
fight
just
for their
go
lives.
and talk
Please
about
donate
everything that's
today.
happening.
I
Your
did
gift
an
will
interview
make
in
a difference.
2008 or 9
Help
with
us,
Paul, what's her
help
name's
ours.
father,
At Mount
and he was
Carmel
an Air
Veterans Service Center.
Force guy in World War II.
Lisa Camarillo here
And
with Phil Long
his
Toyota.
story,
Come sell
I
me
was like,
yours and I'll
we're
sell you
trying to
mine.
do
We
stuff. I
want
sat
your
down for
trade.
like 3
Plus,
hours, like
new
going,
Toyotas are arriving every day.
oh my
Drive
word.
a brand new
Yep.
You are just
2021
fascinating.
Toyota Camry, RAV4, or Tacoma with our
I think when we
one-pay
start
lease
back
offers.
up, first
Just
thing I'm
one
going to
payment
do
of
is address the
$15,000 for
Chambers
36
meeting
months of
candidate.
worry-free
I want to address
driving.
that a little
Visit
bit.
us
Speak to
today
that.
and get
Okay.
a cup of coffee on me, Lisa Camarillo. If we don't have it, we'll get it. Experience why Colorado drives Phil Long.
And we are back. Rusty, during break, you said you want to address the Chamber of Commerce, the Meet the Candidates issue. So fire away.
You bet. Again, I want to thank you for affording me the opportunity to talk to everyone because unfortunately I will not be available for the Meet the Candidates. Me and my lovely wife are traveling to Georgia to be with my elderly parents who aren't doing very well and take care of some business out there. So I want to say sorry I won't be at the Meet the Candidates, and I want to make everyone fully aware my phone is always on, and my cell phone number is 719-859-0523. Or people are welcome to stop by. Most people know where I'm at the Cotham Motel up there. We run that business. Contact me anytime. If we don't cover any issues that you want covered, please feel free to reach out to me. I've received some calls, and I'm going to talk about a few subjects people have brought up to me, but
Okay.
call me anytime with questions that I don't cover, Benz. I will not be at Meet the Candidates.
Okay. We will be, and we'll be live streaming it, and hopefully on Channel 71. So, folks, please, this is going to show after. And to explain to people, I'm filming you and the other two candidates independently, so that, and I won't release it until we'll release them all at the same time.
Correct.
So that I can have conversation with them now without them being prepared.
Yes.
So, with that being said, in knowing you a little bit historically, I do want to address one thing because it's very important, and that is that you are a veteran.
I am a veteran. I served in the United States Navy from 1978 to 1982.
Okay.
So
on ship, I think
I
on
was
the West
on a
Coast.
ship. We left out of the West Coast. I was in the Persian Gulf when Iran took the hostages. I was on an ammunition ship. I was on a, believe it or not, people, they trusted me to handle nuclear weapons at one time in my life. I know it's a scary thought. I was probably a little more able to follow instructions back then than I am now.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Moving forward, as I scroll through and I find the topics that you gave me, one of the things that is a bigger issue, and I'm going to put this up here in a second, is consumption clubs. I don't know how many years it's been now since marijuana was approved. It certainly had an impact on the financial situation of the city. So before we even talk about consumption clubs, let's talk about what you know as far as the impact of what marijuana has had on the financial situation of the city of Trinidad.
Well, it definitely turned things around when we were in a low. You know, when you're talking $4.2 million in that neighborhood, it's gone up every year for the last, I believe, 5 years. I think it started out running in the around $3.5 million in tax revenue to the city, and I think this last couple of years we've been running right around $4.2 million. What a major impact. I mean, we added police officers because of that. We replaced vehicles for the police department, fire trucks, equipment, for all departments. It's a major impact. And now with New Mexico's legalization, we stand a chance of possibly losing a percentage of our revenue, and I've always been pro marijuana, but I am also pro listening to the people that elect me, and it's a heated subject. Not everyone is in favor of consumption clubs, but I feel we need to do something to set us apart. Not just welcome them here, spend your money, now take your marijuana and leave and go find somewhere else to smoke it. I've always thought if we have bars for people to go and buy beer and sit and socialize, when the state of Colorado set this up, marijuana was supposed to be regulated the same as alcohol. That's how they set it up.
Right.
And it hasn't got that fair shake. So I'm not saying I want to cram consumption clubs down the people of Trinidad's throat, because I know there's some fears how we started out, we're going to have this many marijuana shops, and then it was open the door, and oh my God, people don't want to see that happen. I think this may be a heated enough subject and enough controversy that this may be something that needs to end up going to the voters of Trinidad to decide if they want it here or not. I don't want to sit at city council and say, I support the marijuana industry, I want to see consumption clubs, this is how we're going to do it. We've had open forums for it, people speaking for and against. The state's agency that deals directly with marijuana, the gentleman was down here and said, there was money for startups and everything else available. I don't know if that's still available, but he said this is how we see it happening. These are the rules we'd like to see in place and how it's going to work. And we took that to the public, and I think it was pretty much split down the middle, fors and against the people that came to city council. So I'm all for taking this to the voters and letting them decide if there's no other way to get it done.
Well, let's get into a little bit more of the detail. Having been at all these meetings, and how do you, if somebody walks out of a bar and they've had too many drinks and the police stop them, they can do a breathalyzer.
Correct.
If they get in their car. How do you do that with marijuana?
So the officers have training just the same as the field sobriety tests for alcohol. They have them for marijuana also. Reflexes are a little slower. A few things, and I think we're very close to seeing some sort of breathalyzer type test that'll work for marijuana somehow. I'm not sure a swab with your saliva into a machine that'll give a readout of the microns or however that works.
Right.
But I'm all for. We have Tom Davis started a taxi cab type service here in town. I think if we had, it would give a more opportunity for businesses like that to start up, and Uber businesses, get people in here, let them rent their rooms where they're going to stay, catch their ride, get their marijuana, or just go to the social clubs and socialize and catch their ride back home. I wish the same thing for people that drink as I would for marijuana, to please exercise safety most of all. But we're talking limited amounts of marijuana that's going to be made available for sale if consumption clubs come along. They're talking about 1 gram for sale. I'm not a big fan of the bring your own, because that's the 2 type of clubs they're looking at. You either go in and you buy it there, or you bring it in and smoke your own there. I'd like to see it a little better control on it with, okay, you can come in, you get to buy 1 gram, you sit around, socialize. That's about 1 marijuana cigarette.
Okay.
1 gram, that's it.
Right.
And so I definitely want to see strict regulations and control how much people are able to consume. No concentrates in that type of stuff. We need a very controlled setting to control how high people will get before they walk out to get in a vehicle. Let's make sure they have a ride home or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But we need to keep them here, Tom. Not just come to town and buy and leave. Let's keep them people here. Let them go hike our new trails that we have. Let them go explore our park. Go to our lake and go fishing. Let's don't just run them in, take their money for the sale of marijuana, and send them down the road.
Okay. Well, one anecdotal story I heard from someone is they've been in bars when people are drinking and it's rowdy and fights and things like that, and they've been in a party where people are smoking and it's usually pretty mellow.
Well, I think the Blues Fest is a perfect example of that. If you go to a hard rock concert and people out there in mosh pits and they're banging their heads, it's a much wilder crowd like alcohol.
Right.
You move to like a blues type of music and marijuana, it's a much mellower, easier going crowd. And I think it's a much more easier, manageable crowd for sure, the marijuana crowd.
Well, we spoke to the police after the Blues Fest, and they were like, this is great. Yeah. Everybody was well behaved, no issues, no fights, no anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just kind of like anecdotal stories, but
it is.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Blues Fest, and it started in 99, that's a lot of years going. We never, within the city limits of Trinidad, had a single DUI because we provided rides. We had back when COG run, and then after that we started renting vans and at different organizations using it to raise money and giving rides, because you can manage how much you allow people to drink or consume in marijuana, and so they don't get too high, and then you offer them an alternative where they can get back to the room without driving. The Blues Fest is a perfect example how you can do that, whether it's alcohol or marijuana.
Cool. And the Blues Fest started just about 100 yards from here.
It did, just right down the street here.
So that was, and I've never missed. Very proud of that.
Yep.
We're going to take another short break, and we'll be back. So let me key this up, and there we go.
I got one call I need to
catch. I think I lost the audio on this one. Let me
Freedom
bring this guy
isn't
back
free.
up.
This time of year, give thanks and help our veterans.
Thank you for protecting our freedom.
Thank you for your sacrifices.
Gracias al apoyo que dan a nuestro.
Hey, brother, I'm right in the middle of the interview. I'll be done here real quick.
Our veterans,
where y'all at?
America's heroes. They fought for
All
our
right.
country.
Is Michelle there?
Many fight for their lives.
Were you just
Please
going to
donate
grab that
today.
and go, or
Your
would you
gift will
hang
make a
out? What's the
difference.
plan?
Help us, help ours.
At
All right,
Mount Carmel
so
Veteran
y'all are in the
Services.
closet in there in that room.
The best pre-owned deals are happening now at Villan Ford of
leave the money
Raton.
with
We
her
have
and we'll be good
1,200
to go.
pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Payments
All right,
from
brother,
just
y'all be safe going home, and I'll
$199 a
talk
month,
to you
just
soon.
$199 plus
All right,
Algol,
bye.
100% credit approval.
This is going good.
This
I'll do one more
month,
commercial to
and
give us
with
30
the
seconds and I'll key us up.
$29.95 oil change.
All right.
We'll go
Visit
to
us
the
today
other
or
two,
online anytime at
and then we'll wrap it up like
Get
we did
small
last
town
time.
service
I'll
and big
put
city
the camera on
selection. If we
you,
don't have
and
it,
you
we'll get
finalize summarize it
Experience why
whenever you
New
want.
Mexico
I don't know
drives
if we
Phil
take another break. I
Long.
just want to give you a little breather here.
Lisa Camarillo here with Phil Long Toyota. Come
so the
sell me
next-
yours and I'll sell you mine. We
to be
want
us,
your trade.
and then the
Plus,
next
new Toyotas are
is-
arriving every day.
we will-
Drive a brand new
we'll go to housing
2021
after
Toyota
that.
Camry, RAV4, or
Oops.
Tacoma with our one-pay
Gotta
lease
tap
offers.
the
Just
consumption,
one
folks.
payment of $15,000 for 36 months of worry-free driving.
Visit us today and get a cup of coffee on me, Lisa Camarillo.
If we don't have it, we'll get it. Experience why Colorado drives Phil Long.
And we're back. Thank you, Rusty. You gave me a few topics to key up here, and the next one that I'd like to talk about is housing.
Yes.
Key factor, and you are a part of providing housing in the community, so you have some knowledge.
We are. We have a couple mobile home parks, a couple RV parks, a motel, and it is just crazy. We just seen a report where 35 families left the mine because they're not going to stay in hotels, and
35 full-time jobs?
35 families, not just 35 jobs, but then you have wives and you have kids.
Right.
So that's children in our schools, a big deal, and there's no housing. So we've seen a boom here. It's great. The market is great. People wanting to sell, but what we need to look at is what are we going to do immediately to help make sure set the mine up for a success. That's good paying jobs. We're talking about stuff that instead of our kids leaving here, being able to stay and work at a good job. We're talking about a lot of tax money into this community, more kids into our schools, which equals more money from the states, better schools, better teachers. I mean, it is a big deal. And so we are working with quite a few people right now. We started an incentive program with the marijuana tax money. 4% of that's going into an incentive program. I think we got around a couple $100,000 in there. What we're trying to offer builders to get someone to come in here is, okay, we can take this money to not put a strain on our water department, electric department, gas department. We can take this money, we can pay for their taps fees for them. We can pay building permits so that's less money they need to do. And I think if we need to go to extremes at this point, we're going to have to get some houses built. We need to look at some of these lots possibly for sale somewhere, and the city may need to take some of our reserve money, invest in these lots so that we have the total package where we could really get a builder in here from up north and say, we need you to come in and build 20 units and work in
Apartment
conjunction.
units, housing units.
So my ideal is, we've had a couple people in front of us who are saying, all right, we've got a deal here. We're wanting to put in this many units. The houses are going to run from $250,000 up. I'm like, okay, that works for the bosses, but how about the employees? If we own the property, if we own all the taps and everything else, we can tell a contractor we need houses from $175,000 to $275,000 range. We need this many built so that it solves the needs of everybody in that group, not just the mine. It could help other people also, but my main concern now is to set the mine up to be successful. Mm-hmm. That's good jobs and a lot of money for school districts and tax revenue and everything else. We've got to do something. I don't want the city to be in the real estate business, and I'm not looking to buy lots with city money that we're going to be in the business forever. I'm looking at an immediate solution where we can make it as appetizing to a builder up north to come in where they can make money, build houses in the price range we need, and get these miners into some housing so they're staying here. Okay. That's very important to me to set that mine up for success, not failure.
So within the city limits, do we have enough acreage? Do we have enough space?
So we do. We have a couple of failed developments in town, two of them, one of them being Cougar Canyon, and I can never remember the other one up off of Santa Fe Trail up on the south end of town. We have them two developments for sure, and Miss Santa Stephen has City View Heights with quite a few lots. She's working with the mine. She's working with developers. So we're working hard to get this resolved, but we're going to have to do what it takes to get it done now. We can't be looking at a year from now.
Right.
We can't be looking at a modular home subdivision when modular homes are a year out. In a year's time, who knows what's going to happen? More families leave, make it harder to hire more employees at the mine and everything else. We need to do something to solve this problem now.
Have you had any comments from people saying, well, gee, that it's not the city's business to handle housing?
It is, but it is the city's business for commerce, for businesses.
Right.
So sometimes the city has to expand what it does to help businesses succeed.
Right.
And that's a big employer. The rail line alone that was supposed to start going in next year for the mine is happening this fall because they're so far ahead of schedule pumping coal. That's a $44 million investment by that company to put that rail line back in. 2 bridges rebuilt and the rail line back in. I believe it was $44 million. They're willing to invest the money. They're willing to invest money into the housing also. So it's not just a burden of the city to take care of this. I'm looking for the city to work with a company like that to get housing in here. And, we could see in a matter of time if consumption clubs don't happen,
Right.
the marijuana industry falls off, a lot of these people leaving and houses coming open. But I would like to think if they're going to get out of the marijuana business, they'll move into another business that's needing help. I mean, geez, our food service business is struggling so much with help,
Right.
Tom. So I don't think that's an immediate solution for a housing problem by one industry kind of losing some employees and them leaving so other employees for a new business can move into them. I wouldn't be doing my job if I was hoping for that to happen. We want all businesses to succeed and more people to move here to fill them jobs.
Right. How has the art space worked out?
So the art space is good. I sure wish that we could, the downtown one is full at the Space to Create.
Mm-hmm.
The apartments down off of Elm Street, I don't know if they're completely full. There are some units there, and I wish we could stick minors in those, but it's strictly based on income.
Right.
And the way their loan was to build the place, it doesn't allow for us to put minors in there. I sure wish we could.
Okay. So we've let me bring this one down, but we've spoken a little bit about this, but maybe go in a little bit more depth as far as keeping our youth in Trinidad.
Man, tell me a grandparent that wouldn't love to have their kids and grandkids stay in Trinidad.
Right. And you are a grandparent, correct?
I'm a great grandparent. We have 4 children. I have 12 grandchildren, and I have 1 great grandson.
Wow.
I have 1 son, the single son, and no grandkids living here out of my 4 kids that live here. I would love for our daughters or the other son to be able to live in this area and thrive and have grandkids closer to me. So it is big on my list because I know I'm not the only one out there that would love to have kids and grandkids closer to, number one, they got to have jobs they can go into, good paying jobs. I mean, we're already seeing our junior college expand. It's no longer Trinidad State Junior College. That's Trinidad State College. 4-year degrees offered there so our kids could stay here to go to college. When they come out of college, we need 2 things. We need good jobs for them to go into, and we need something for them to do. We're working on the jobs.
Right.
What we need to do is start figuring out, we're looking at possibly enclosing the pool with a retractable so it can be outdoor and indoor both, something kids to do through the winter time there. We got to find events or have something here to keep them here, give them something to do, because idle minds, don't always follow the right path.
Right.
And we need to keep them busy. And it weighs heavy on my mind. If anyone's got solutions, anyone's got ideas to bring to me, man, would I love to take them to city council. But please know that is high on my list of things I would like to succeed at doing, is finding more stuff to keep our youth here closer to us parents and grandparents.
How far away are your kids?
So we got 1 in San Antonio, Texas, 1 in somewhere in Nebraska and one in the Farmington area, and then
Okay.
one lives here.
Okay.
So, a couple of them are fairly close, and two of them are a little ways away.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that means you're a very caring grandpa.
I am. I love them grandkids. It was funny. My kids growing up, I've been doing Santa Claus for so long was Santa Claus, and they would tell all their friends, "Don't tell no one. My dad is Santa Claus." And then the grandkids started out doing the same thing. So I've got such a great relationship with all the kids and grandkids, and I have a great grandson that I think just turned 7 months old. I haven't even seen yet down in Nebraska, and
That's cool.
I'm sure anxious to see that little guy because you just can't beat a brand new baby.
A couple of questions that just popped into my head as we're rolling along. But bouncing back to housing, what's the issues right now with Cougar? But from what I've heard, it is so mucked up that it may not be able to be unraveled. Is there any movement?
Well, and one of my candidates, the other candidates for mayor, Pat Howlett, I admire him so much. I'm a big supporter of his as he is of me. We're very good friends and we talk a lot. He brought it to my attention. A gentleman just, I think, settled a lawsuit out on a bunch of lots out there. There's around 25, I believe, that are ready to build on. I believe he's settling the tax debt on those. So most people want to look at Cougar Canyon. How are we going to solve the whole Cougar Canyon deal? I think we need to stop worrying about solving the whole Cougar Canyon deal and concentrate on parts of it to get some housing in there. And I think that's an avenue we're definitely looking at, and it could possibly be a solution. If we can get 25 lots out there freed up, ready to build, that's 25 more. If Miss Anna Stephen can get a 25 out at her place in City View Heights, and I believe Ray Duran is dealing with the other development that failed, working with the bank that has that. If Ray could get another 20 units, 15, 10 units out there, we start getting 40, 50 built. We've taken a big bite out of this problem.
Right.
It's not the big picture solution, but it is an immediate solution that we need.
That's one of the first things actually I ever spoke at City Council way back when they were, bringing it into the city.
Yeah.
We were assured that we get some property for YMCA, and then when it shut down and when things happened in 2008, we were that close with the hotel almost built. It was heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking, and a lot of people don't know I love to golf.
Really?
I golf every chance I get. At one time when I first moved here and played a lot, I was a 7 handicap, and I loved playing that Jack Nicklaus design. The driving range, the golf course, the little clubhouse and the restaurant, everything was just fantastic out there.
I took a ride with Paula for one of the Mount Carmel when she was on the board or whatever, and took a golf cart out there. I hurt my back in '87, so I just don't golf. But we went on a ride all the way through. It was like a movie set.
Yes.
Or watching golf on TV. It was like, this is in Trinidad.
I know.
It was amazing.
Imagine if that development started just in the last 2 years, how it would look right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I've been told by one person actually the golf course is recoverable. It would be expensive, but it may be recoverable.
It is, and we still have people and developers that are part of that coming in here, and man, we're going to do this, and Mr. Valentine, our city manager, has a stack this big of paperwork on just Cougar Canyon and people that are involved with that coming in. We're bringing back the golf course, and we're redoing the hotel and the event centers, and that's what we hear. And then they get into it. They look at the tax debt, the interest on the tax debt, and how messed up it is, buried under level after level of whatever you want to call it.
Well,
I could use a few words, but I really don't want to go there. It is a mess, Tom, for sure.
Okay. Well, one more question before we wrap it up, and we let you give your final statement. Being on city council, I mean, how interactive has it been for you to get phone calls daily or weekly or whatever? And I mean, how much of that is a part of what you do?
It is 100% part of what I do. Now, if you ask my wife, I wouldn't be on the ballot for mayor. I promised her 2 more years, and my time as public servant is over with. But she is sick and tired of me listening to me talk politics. But the only time I have ever asked anyone to please give me some time is when I'm out to eat with my family. Right. Other than that, I don't care where I'm at. Anytime, my phone is always right there. I am approachable. Last night going into city council, Mr. Hamer rolls up, Councilman Goodall, you got a minute? I give him my time. I give anyone my time anytime they want it. And if you are an elected official and you don't do that, you really shouldn't be in this position, because it's a responsibility you accept. You are to be held accountable for what's going on in this town, and you should be available to everybody at any time, almost any time.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't give you a lot of time to prep for this, but as we did 4 years ago, what I want to wrap this up with is you taking as short or as long as you want, looking at this camera here, and saying whatever you'd like to the people.
I guarantee to the people of Trinidad, if you elect me, I will continue to give 100% of myself, as I have always done in this community and every position I've held in as a public servant. It has been my honor and my privilege to serve this community I love so much. And given the opportunity, I will give you 100% for 2 more years before I hop on that Harley with my fishing pole and ride off into the sunset and start enjoying a little bit of retirement. Vote for Rusty Goodall come November if you want to change. If you're happy with what you got, or you're happy with another candidate, please vote for them. But please get out and vote. Your vote counts.
Rusty, thank you. We've known each other for a while through the Blues Fest and just activities in the city. And I guess I'd like to wrap this up by saying thank you for your service. And I think there's a feeling, an attitude, or whatever you want to say in Trinidad, that things are getting better.
They are.
And it's nice because we've both lived through decades here, and we've seen good times and we've seen bad times.
Yeah.
But I think we have more to be optimistic about than we do as far as being dreadful of, something shutting down and, losing a big chunk of people. But with that being said, again, thank you, sir. It is a real pleasure.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you and everything you do for the city.